What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. In today's video, I would like to talk about draft prospect Keion White. But if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content. Hit that like button for your boy. I do appreciate each and every one of you guys for continuing to tune in to my channel and share out my content. If you would like to follow your boy on Twitter and Instagram, you can follow me at JewTalkSports. If you would like to donate to my channel, you can donate to my Cash App, which is the $JewTalkSports. And if you'd like to be a part of my JewTalkSports membership, you can hit that join tab here on the channel as well. But with that being said, let's jump right into the video. So as I mentioned in today's video, I do want to talk about draft prospect Keion White. Keion White actually started his college career at Old Dominion University, which is actually my wife's alma mater. And he eventually transferred to Georgia Tech University. But Keion White is about 6'4", 270 pounds. And he's a player that's name has been coming up down at the Senior Bowl this week. And as you guys know, our coaching staff is down there coaching the Senior Bowl. So I wouldn't be surprised if Keion White is one of the players that they may draft. I don't know what his draft stock is. If Keion White is going to be like a first-round pick, I believe he could end up being like a high second-round pick. I don't believe that he'll be a guy that's drafted in the first round, but I wouldn't be surprised if a team in the late first round pick him up. But Keion White is a pretty good pass rusher for what I hear and from the tape and highlights that I've seen of him. What stood out to me when I watched his game is his relentlessness. He's a guy that's very relentless, never gives up on plays. He gets a lot of hustle plays where he makes a lot of tackles in the backfield in the running game and chasing down the quarterback and things of that nature. He's not super athletic as far as he's not the most twitchy and quick guy, but he has very strong hands. It looks like he's another power rusher because he's one of the bigger pass rushers. As I mentioned in this draft class, it seems like it's less hybrid type pass rushers and there's more traditional type defensive ends in this draft. And I think that Keion White is one of those guys that will fall in under the category as like a traditional defensive end, about 6'4", 270 pounds. But he's a guy that doesn't really have a ton of pass rush moves. He is good at using the rip moves, good using his hands, but he's a guy that just hustles. If you watch his tape, if you watch his highlights and things of that nature, to me, he's just a guy that never gives up on plays, and that's why he makes a lot of plays in the backfield. Now, one thing that really stood out to me out of some of the game tape that I've seen of Keion White is that he's one of those guys that does a good job of not letting athletic quarterbacks and not letting running backs get the edge. He was very good at setting the edge for Georgia Tech, very good at not allowing guys to get to the outside, as you see like a lot of pass rushers in the NFL do, where they leave their gap and they jump inside and allow mobile quarterbacks and allow quarterbacks to get outside of the pocket. That's something that I think he did really, really well at Georgia Tech, because he's a very fundamentally sound player. It's one thing that I really picked up when looking at Keion White's tape is he's a guy that's going to do his job. And that's one thing when we had Dean Pease here as our defensive coordinator, he always harped on just doing your job, being one of 11 and not trying to do too much on plays, but being gap sound, staying in your gap, not jumping inside, keeping that outside contained. And that's something that I think Keion White did a really, really good job at Georgia Tech. So I definitely think that he could be a player that the Falcons target in this upcoming draft. Like I said, to me, I think he's like more of a second round pick because he's not the guy that's, going to jump off your screen as far as super athletic, or, he's not one of those guys that I think has, he's not one of those highly touted guys because his numbers in college weren't great. He only really played one full season, which was his last season at Georgia Tech, where he totaled about 7.5 sacks, which is really good. And he had 14 tackles for loss. But he actually was a player that changed positions at Old Dominion. He started off as a tight end, as a redshirt freshman, and then they changed his position to defensive end in his sophomore season at Old Dominion, and then eventually he moved on to Georgia Tech, where he transferred, and he was injured his junior year, and then he played pretty much his full senior year. So he's one of those guys that doesn't have a ton of stats only in his senior year, but I definitely think that he has all of the tools to be one of those guys that the Falcons should definitely think about targeting. As you guys know, I do think in this draft that the Falcons should go heavy, draft heavy on the defensive line, because we need more depth at the defensive line. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons take multiple guys on the defensive line in this draft. And he's definitely a guy that I would be looking to take in the second round. I wouldn't take Keion White at 8 because I think he still would possibly be there in the second round. You may have to trade up a little bit like we did for AK when we drafted Epiketi last season, when they traded up in the second round. But I definitely think that he'll be a guy that'll be on the Falcons' radar, being that they're getting up close and personal look at him down at the Senior Bowl. But he's been a name that's been coming up a lot at the Senior Bowl, is a guy that a lot of guys, coaches and scouts and things of that nature have been impressed by down at the Senior Bowl. But with that being said, you guys let me know what you think of Keion White. Should the Falcons think about drafting Keion White in this upcoming draft? I definitely think that he's an interesting prospect, and I definitely think he's definitely a guy that I wouldn't mind the Falcons taking because of his motor. He has a motor that never stops, and he's one of those guys that's fundamentally sound, and I definitely think he'll be a great fit for our Atlanta Falcons. But with that being said, this be your boy Jew. I'll holler at you guys in the next video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up, be blessed, peace.